share, recipe share. Share a little recipe with Recipe Share. Recipe Share, Recipe Share. Share a little recipe with Recipe Share.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for this episode of Recipe Share, a program on AADL TV where we take a few minutes to talk about recipes in a featured category. Today's category is Rice is Nice. I'm Elizabeth, and as usual, I'm joined today by Beth and Katie to tell us about their recipes. So, Beth, why don't you tell us about your rice recipe?
Okie dokie. I made a recipe that got from my husband, but also shoot, it's not even listed here who it was. It's some iHeartRecipes.com, and her name is Rosie someone. It's a teriyaki salmon sheet pan fried rice. So it was really, really good. I'll just run through the ingredients. It calls for a teriyaki sauce that is with soy sauce, honey. I use agave instead of honey. Honey's really expensive right now. A little bit of sesame oil, 3 cloves of garlic, chunk of minced fresh ginger, avocado oil, a quarter cup of pineapple juice, because it also uses pineapple, some cornstarch and pepper. And then the salmon, you use 5 cups of cold cooked white rice, which this is a recipe where you really need to make the rice ahead of time. Makes it so much easier. Calls for diced onions, a bag of frozen peas and carrots, or 10 ounces, garlic, avocado oil, soy sauce, sesame oil, blah, blah, blah. So you're making a sauce, a teriyaki sauce, and then you use half of it to marinate your salmon. Now, I did make this week. I wanted to see if it would work with chicken, and it did. I used 2 chicken breasts and cut those up into chunks, and I have the recipe. So that was also good. So just bear that in mind. It works with chicken. So you marinate with half the sauce, you put the other half on the stove and use your cornstarch to thicken it up, which I screwed that up a little bit because I don't read through all the way because I'm a dork. But anyway, so you take the rice though, and you spread it out on the sheet pan, and you add the veggies, the onions, the soy sauce, I think. Yeah, anyway. And so that's how you're making your fried rice. And while that's cooking, you make your sauce, and at one point you cook the rice for like 20 minutes, and then you scooch it over and put your salmon on there. And then you have to put it under a broiler. I have the kind of broiler that goes under the stove, I hate the drawer. I hate that, but I used it. Um, and it ends up being delicious. You cover it with the sauce, so you dump out the marinade that you've used for either your salmon or your chicken, and then you drizzle that sauce with some sesame seeds and scallions. It's so good, you guys. The salmon, I have a picture of the salmon, and then I also have one of the chicken. Um, the salmon, I was a little not sure about how well it would translate for leftovers. It was very good. Please don't take fish to work and put it in the microwave. But I did it at home. It wasn't any big deal. And then and same with the chicken. We ended up having it for dinner. Oh, I forgot the main thing, pineapple tidbits, and you're using pineapple juice. Yes. So when you're putting the meat on, your protein on, you add your pineapple tidbits. And then when Kurt made it, we had crushed pineapple, and that worked just fine too. So it's a winner salmon / chicken dinner.
That sounds super good to me.
Yeah.
Really want to try it. I have never made rice on the sheet pan. That's
Mhm.
fascinating to me. So did it
Mhm.
get kind of crispy on the bottom?
Yes.
What happened? Okay,
Yes.
cool.
It's, I know, and I really like that method, even just for rice, for
Yeah.
like crispy rice with throw in some more of those carrots and peas and yeah.
Wow.
I've never heard of that either. I was just like, wow, mind blown. Like you're making fried rice in the oven. That's so cool. I love that it's versatile and it goes with the salmon and chicken. I've also never had salmon and fried rice. So like all that sounded new and exciting to
Yeah.
me, and it sounds like super tropical with the teriyaki and the pineapple and everything. So yeah, that sounds like a great recipe. Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad. I had wanted to do something different, unrelated to this, but it was so good that I was like, I gotta share this. It looked like when Kurt was making it with the calls for 5 cups of rice for the whole thing. That's a lot to try to navigate on a sheet pan.
Yeah.
Um, so having it was worked, but
Yeah.
it was also nice to have leftover. So anyway, all right, Katie, what'd you make this time?
All right. Well, I made 1 skillet Mexican rice casserole. And this comes from the website makingtimeforhealth.com. And time is spelled THYME. So that's kind of cute. But, it was like, I love a 1 skillet recipe, right? So that's why I was like, well, got to make this. It's really easy. You just start by warming some oil in a large skillet over medium heat. Add your onion, cook that till it's nice and tender, and then you add your spices. It's got cumin, chili powder, paprika, salt, and oregano. Stir that all together and cook it up for a few minutes. Then it calls for red bell pepper. I used jalapenos. Uh, you add that and a drained can of green chilies. Cook that for a few minutes, and then you add drained and rinsed black beans, some frozen corn, a little bit of salsa, and then some pre-cooked rice. They use brown rice, but I prefer white rice, so I use that. Just an aside, that something that I never expected to love is our rice cooker. Never knew that I needed one before we got one, and now it's like one of the most used appliances in this house. Like we use it all the time and I love it. You can put it on at any time during the day and it will keep your rice warm, and it's just like so nice and effortless. So love doing that. Did that beforehand. But then you just add that to your skillet and then you stir everything up until it's well combined, and you turn your oven on broil, and then you top your skillet with some cheese. It's Monterey Jack cheese and cheddar cheese. I guarantee I probably used more than this recipe calls for because that's what I do. And you just put it in the oven for like 3 to 4 minutes until your cheese is golden and bubbly on top. And then you serve it with diced green onions, cilantro, and avocado. And this was delicious and so easy. Like a really wonderful like weeknight dinner filling. And I've never had Mexican rice made this way before, so I thought it was really unusual and tasty, and I really liked it.
Yeah, that sounds delicious for a, quick evening meal, but you got to have your rice, and maybe that's what I need. Maybe I,
Little rice cooker, it's so nice to
oh
have that.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love those like 1 skillet things that are just so warming and they come out and then you just put it in a bowl and top it and it's great weeknight dinner stuff, and those are great flavors. What's not to love?
Yep, it was wonderful. Elizabeth, tell us about your rice.
Okay, I love rice. I have like my breakfast most mornings is like a brown rice bowl with an egg and some like tomatoes. Not sharing that. We've talked about this book before, I Dream of Dinner, so you don't have to. And it's great. I own it. It's the subtitle is Low Effort, High Reward Recipes, and I really agree with that. And so I wanted to cook something from here. After Thanksgiving, I was a little burned out. So when I was cooking earlier this week, I just wanted it to be chill, light, easy. So I found a really good recipe in here for coconut curry with swirled eggs. So this was easy. You cook 1 cup of long grain white rice. I actually typically use brown rice because I prefer it, but I did use white rice for this because it was a curry and I feel like that is better suited. While that's cooking, you don't need to pre-cook for this, which is good because I do not have a rice cooker. But meanwhile, you're finely grating 2 inches of ginger and 3 garlic cloves. You heat some oil in a saucepan and add the garlic, ginger, and 4 ounces of green curry paste. I get those little jars that I think are quite good. They're in the like international food section at Kroger. That's where I mostly go. They always call for like, it's just 4 ounces. I just put the jar in. They're little jars. I'm like, I'm not saving this little tiny bit. So I put the whole jar in. You cook that together, stirring occasionally until the paste is kind of fragrant. Then you are finely grating the zest of 1 lime into the pot and adding a can of full fat coconut milk. And it calls for 2 cups of water as well. And you kind of simmer it for 5 to 7 minutes until the flavors are all coming together. Now, this was kind of an interesting thing. So then while that's happening, in a measuring cup, you're whisking together 4 eggs and seasoning with salt. And then you take the pan off the heat and you're slowly stirring while you're pouring the eggs in. And then you're starting to see like the strands of eggs appear and they kind of get like cooked in the hot liquid. And then you throw in 2 cups of baby spinach and the juice of the lime, and you eat it over the rice. So this was delicious, very, very good, very easy, very warming. It was vegetarian, obviously, but I think it would do well with some chopped chicken. I always enjoy chicken in my curry. That's just me. So I think next time I might cook a chicken breast too and just kind of shred that up and throw that in. But this was fabulous, and I love her recipes because they always seem to work for me, like even that technique that I'd never done before, the eggs cooked and it was all good, and I was like, great. So I have a photo here. It's not beautiful, it's a bowl of curry, but you can see what it looks like, and I'll show hers too, just for the audience. That's kind of how she plated it there. And highly recommend, super easy, delicious. So yeah.
Well, I have to say, I was going to come back to this anyway. I have that book right now that I borrowed. I used Allie Slagle's method for making rice. I was going to say, because I've always done 2 to 1, liquid to rice, and she said 1.75 cups of, no, 1.5 cups. Anyway, yeah, it was less.
It's a little less, yeah.
Yeah. So I was a little suspect, especially because I used chicken broth and I wasn't sure how it would translate. And I added a little more water, but I mean, like full on, it was pretty thick broth that I'd made. And yeah, it turned out great. So I liked using her method. So anyway.
Well, that sounds really good. I have never made curry before, so when you were talking, I was wondering about the egg, like if that was something that was typical, but I'm interested to hear that it's not, and it's a really cool technique. So, like, that sounds really neat. I
You
bet it
guys,
looks cool as it was coming together.
you know what else? That very technique was just showed this morning on the Today Show. The chef was doing it, and he said you got to make a vortex and stir it around. Yeah, so yeah, that's another coinky dink. So
one comment I was going to say, Katie, I know you are an expert poached egg maker, and I think this recipe would have been great with like a poached egg as well, if you didn't want to do the swirling for whatever reason. Or I was thinking too, if I was just making this for myself, like I wouldn't want, like 4 eggs is a lot. I wouldn't even necessarily want 2 eggs, you
Mhm.
know? So like I might just do kind of like a soft boil and just like set it in there, and that would be really good too. So
That would be good. And I
Yeah.
think it might be good with shrimp too, like a little shrimp
absolutely
curry. Yeah,
delicious.
very
Yeah.
versatile recipe there. Love it.
Um, okay, so I will say thank you for watching Recipe Share, and be sure to click the link below to look at the event page on aadl.org to find the recipes that we talked about. And feel free to share your own in the comments. Join us next time when we will be talking about fun with fermentation. We're looking forward to seeing what you've been making, so thanks for sharing.
Recipe share, recipe share, share a little recipe with recipe share.